Welcome back to the Crypt of Wax, where we cover the latest metal releases. Is this a metal album? I'm just going to go out and say it falls within the realm of it somewhat, so we're talking about it today. Night of the Vampire, long title, The Enchanting Winds of the Dreamweaving Masquerade, came out on February...
Long band name as well, really.
What's that? Sorry, mate?
Quite a long band name as
Night
well.
of the Vampire is quite... Do you like the band name?
No.
I don't mind it. I think it goes with the sound. But yeah, this...
It absolutely suits it, but I just don't know how suitable it is for a band name, in the sense it's a bit long, not catchy.
Yeah, it's not...
Unlike his songs, which are very catchy. Little spoiler alert.
Spoiler. I don't know. I think it fits the sound, to be honest, because it's not... The sound is quite unique, and it does have a kind of throwback quality. I don't know. We'll get into it when we talk about it. So this album came out on Profound Law on February the 6th. It's the first full length.
Late, aren't we, John?
A little bit late, a couple of weeks. This one we covered.
Do I blame you for that? Because you heard it when it came out and didn't tell me about it.
Yeah, sorry about that one. Look, let me do the introduction, Mike, and then we'll go from this.
Go on, do it.
Came out on Profound Law on February 6th. This is the first full length by Night of the Vampire. There was an EP that came out in 2022, I believe. So this is the first full length. I feel like he's evolved the sound into to be like perfectly to what he's trying to grasp from the EP to this. So a quick overview that he calls it black synth. I think that's a fairly legitimate description. It's kind of like 80s new wave post-punk with black metal, shades of occult rock, shades of dungeon synth, shades of psychedelic rock in there as well. It's a real like blend, but it's very cohesive, would you say?
It's very cohesive, and I have to say, and you know, I don't really want to bring up the album we did in the last episode, but they feel it's a similarity. It feels in the sense of, because we did Worm in the previous episode, and they're both in that sort of in that vampiric world, and these albums, I know they're different anyway musically, but I still think in the way they've come out, there's a massive difference in the sense that I feel that this is a very cohesive album, whereas the Worm album is almost
gone the other way.
It's quite bloated, you know. It's quite an interesting one to do one after the other. I'm pleased we're doing it because I think it gave me more appreciation for what he's doing on this after listening to that Worm album, even though they are different.
Very good point. So like this is quite simplistic when you really take track by track and just strip out the melodies. Like the lead lines and the synths are very it's not like overloading you with like melody and like complexity. It's very quite simplistic, like single note lead lines, but it works in its favor, and I think that's what makes this album...
It's intentional, isn't it?
It is intentional, yeah, and I think that's what makes this album so catchy and so enjoyable to listen to from start to finish, in my opinion.
Well, what I really appreciate on this album was that he's opted to go for short songs. They're like 3 minutes probably average. Like
classic,
I feel
classic
like
song length.
It's classic songwriting songs, isn't it? And I feel like doing this, and especially as a solo project, there's that temptation to self-indulge and make it really long and, you know, go off on these journeys that maybe could work, could not work. But I think what he's done is he's stripped that all out and been like, I'm going to write a 3-minute catchy song with all of these influences thrown in. Keep it simple, but you could tell it's not for a lack of musical prowess. It's very intentional in what he's doing. And I got to say, right, when I checked this out, when you look at, for me, when I looked at it, saw the name of the band, the artwork, the title, I thought, is this going to be style over substance? So I didn't go into it with very high expectations, because I thought it was going to be just more stylistic, especially when I read that it was kind of like a mixture of different genres and things like that, blackened, you know. But I was very impressed and really, really enjoyed this. I thought it was a really, really good listen.
Straight out the gates, you're smacked with this front and center synth lead line, basically, aren't you? That pretty much runs throughout the whole song. It's this kind of like horned synth that it does kind of vary in the lead line throughout, but it really is the driving force of the song. But what I like is sometimes when he drops the synth out, you're met with like a real 80s kind of guitar sound as well, which
Mm.
gives this album like a sense of nostalgia. Did you get that?
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I mean, the 80s influence was huge throughout. You had this kind of, there was elements of like kind of 80s heavy metal in places. You had like kind of
Track 3 in
the
particular.
post-punk, track 3 in particular, and you had the kind of post-punk vibe there as well.
Mm.
There was also, I think, what track number was it? It was the song "The Cosmic Darkness Calls Me Home" later on in the album, but that was like, that had this real like dark gothic vibe. It kind of stood out in a way. It wasn't as light as the other songs,
Yeah.
but it still fit within the realm of the album, but was actually quite a nice change of mood compared to some of the other songs.
Mate, your notes are exactly the same as mine for that song.
That's
I do just want to go back to track 3 before we jump ahead to track 6. But track 3, "Chasing Shadows in an Ocean of Time," this was one of my standouts on the record. It had a real
same.
classic, like you said, like a classic heavy metal feel. The verse riff had that kind of slower, palm muted kind of thing. It kind of reminded me of Sammy Hagar. It had that kind of like
Yeah,
80s classic rock heavy metal thing, and there were really great like nostalgic synth lines going on in the chorus. For me, that was one of the standout songs. Now I'm going to jump forward a few songs to what you were just talking about. "The Cosmic Darkness Calls Me Home." My notes were exactly the same on yours for this. This one overall had more of like a that kind of more dark dungeon synth feel to it. It really reminded
mhm,
me of Warlock Corpse. Actually, there was like a track on one of his albums that sounded very similar, and it was very different to everything else on the record, but it still felt cohesive. It felt like a little break almost from like the catchy synth driven lead lines, and went a bit more like to a rhythmic, monotonous, almost felt a little bit like cyberpunk in a weird way. There was a kind of like
yeah.
futuristic feel to it, wasn't there?
Yeah, and but again, I also thought it felt like it was quite steeped in 80s
Yeah.
as well. You sort of had a bit of a Depeche Mode vibe in there as well. Probably a little bit of early Nine Inch Nails in there, too. It was a really good song and really well placed where it was as well. Um, and then actually, I do want to bring up as well because I feel like a lot of the other songs, I don't want to say they were samey, but they were in a similar vein to one another. They were very catchy, synth led. You had that backing guitar as well, which kind of made it, which sort of drove it. And actually, I want to also talk about the bass guitar as well because I thought the production on the bass sounded amazing. I really loved the tone that he got on that.
Yeah.
Um, but I wanted to mention, and I know it's got more of an, it's not an interlude because it was the last track, but I loved the Misty Illusions, the final one. It was, there was no drums and it was no vocals. It was more, it was kind of a synth only thing, but it had that sort of Berlin school vibe, that sort of old school set, almost 70s kind of
Yeah.
synth feel to it. And I really enjoyed that as well. It was, and I think it was a couple of minutes. It could have gone on for ages for as far as I was concerned. I was really enjoying that, really immersed in it.
Yeah, I thought that was a great ender, great way to see out the record. Agree with all your points. Um, there was a track. So after the Cosmic Darkness, track 6, it went into I like
Mm.
just to rewind. Sorry, what you were saying. Like, not that everything sounded the same, but there were like maybe a couple songs that had similarities, but there was the odd one thrown in and around it that kind of did stick out, which allowed the
Mm.
album to flow quite nicely and did all keep it quite cohesive, but with injecting the kind of level of freshness. And then I think when it got to track 7, "Mother Moon of the Astral Dawn," it had that kind of that was the introduction for me anyway of that like occult rock, psychedelic rock. It had that kind of
Yeah.
um, that magic metal kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Even the artwork has that kind of like with the colors of it has that kind of like magic metal touch,
I know.
doesn't it?
Well, I mean, there's kind of there's kind of similarities with that. The band you don't, you're not going to name them, but that sort of that band that you feel uncomfortable
Yeah.
delving into, you know. And there is a similarity there to that, but I mean, hopefully he's all right. You can listen to
Yeah.
this relatively guilt free.
Please be. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
man, I thought this album was really fun. Like not too long, didn't outstay its welcome. Like every track had something cool about it, and it was just it's an earworm, man. It's like every
it is an earworm.
you finish it and you're like, oh, I want to go again.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. what was this, 9 songs, just over half an hour.
Yeah.
It flew by as a record. It really did. And one thing as well, the drums on this. I tried to look into this today. I mean, obviously your obvious thought is that it's processed drums, but some of the way it was performed sounded like a drummer playing it with the way. So I don't know whether it was just expert level programming or there was maybe a bit of a mixture of the two, and there was like a drummer playing and it was kind of heavily processed, because just some of the way it performed, it sounded even though very processed, very natural in performance.
My take on it was that it was programmed um, based on nothing, based on just like what I was hearing. And if it did, there was an overall chaotic. Sometimes this album would just go a little bit loose,
Yeah,
maybe not vocally, but like just melody wise and like all togetherness, especially towards some of the end of the songs, that they were like just allowing themselves to get a little bit looser. And I think maybe it was analog processing of drums rather than like actually click drums, if that makes sense. So maybe it did give it that
yeah,
kind of feeling overall.
performed.
That's just my thoughts, but I don't
Well, it
know.
was. It was incredible. Well, if that's the case, I thought the programming was exceptional on this. It was really, really good.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, great production overall. I think this was a really fun record. One I'm definitely going to just dip in and out of and just put on
Yeah.
over time. I think it's going to definitely stay up there throughout
Do
the
you think this will get
year.
the? Do you think this? Has this got the? Has this got hype? Is this getting the kind of hype it deserves? I feel like it's. I feel like I hadn't really heard of it until the other day, and
Uh,
it
I
seems like
think
it deserves a bit of
I
hype.
think it's getting a touch of
It's
hype.
great.
Yeah, I think it's getting a bit of hype. I mean, look, I don't know whether people will see this as a metal album or not. But like, if you're here predominantly for black metal, do give it a try, especially if you like that kind of vampiric synth kind of thing. It will kind of fall into a more 80s like upbeat kind of sound, but it's definitely well worth checking
It's
out, man.
very well done, and
Yeah.
he hits the brief so well of what he's trying to do. It's great.
Yeah, definitely check it out. And if you have checked it out, what did you think about it? Let us know in the comments. Give a like and a subscribe to the video. It helps a lot. And we put out videos every Wednesday and Friday covering the latest metal releases. And we will hopefully catch you in the next one.